Yes, hello guys, good morning. Welcome to Banking Wisdom live videos. Today we're going to talk about a very important aspect of banking. If you ask me, I'll tell you this aspect of banking is perhaps the second most important, aspect of your banking relationship after the cash, after your money in the bank. What do I mean? After the money that you put in the bank, which entitles a relationship with your bank, your credit history, which is the topic for today's discussion, is the second most important aspect of your relationship with your bank. In fact, of your financial life. It's a very important aspect of your financial life. How do I mean? What is credit history first? Let's try and um, bring us ourselves to speed on what credit history is. Yes, credit history is the history of your borrowing relationship with banks generally in Nigeria. You know, what that means is that for every single loan you have taken in the bank, there's an history of payment, history of default, if that is the case, history of payment, history of your how you pay the money back. There's a history of it that is recorded somewhere, and that means that for every loan you have taken, how you have paid, how you have performed on the loan, how you have met up with your obligations is recorded in what we call credit history. A credit history, are generated by agencies, companies, private companies in Nigeria. From the last calendar, there were five of them. And for every loan, every lender in Nigeria, banks, mortgage bank, microfinance bank, and all other banks, including online loan vendors, loan sharks, like we used to call them, are all subscribed to credit reports. In fact, it's mandatory, it's a regulatory requirement that for every loan that any individual wants to take in a bank, the bank itself, that's the lender, must generate at least 3 reports to verify the status of past loans, existing loans of the customer. This report will show, how the borrower has performed on previous loan in the past. So, however, what we want to look at today is what will ruin this credit report. This credit report is so important that it's a lot bigger than just your lending relationship with the bank. We've had case recently of somebody that was denied visa. I mean, I don't know, I can't recall the country the person is traveling to, but he was denied visa because he has a bad credit history somewhere. That shows, that shows that the country is going to does not trust his credit worthiness, not trust him to repay on loan, does not trust him to repay on obligations. That's affected his plan to travel out of the country. He was denied visa and he has to stay put. That's how important credit history is. I also know of organizations that before they employ you as an employee, they will, ask for your credit history. They will go and search for it. It's available anyway. You can also search for your own credit history, on credit platforms. I will not mention the name of any platform because I have not been paid for advert. But the fact remains that there are credits, is credit companies available on the net. If you search, Google is our helper, like they used to say, it's our friend. Google is our friend, like they used to say. You can search and get the names of credit companies that, banks are subscribed to. So, like I said, your credit is a summary of your borrowings with your banks, with all the banks in Nigeria that you have borrowed with, and the banks report, your credit history to credit bureau. Credit bureau, we call them. There are a lot of them. That's credit companies. So what this means invariably is that as a borrower in a bank, you have history of your borrowing relationship with all the banks in Nigeria. Banks are under obligation to report your borrowings. Whether you have paid well or not, whether it's a new loan or not, whether you have fulfilled obligations or not. Whether you have you've been a good customer, good borrowing customer of the bank or not. Banks and lenders are under obligation to report your borrowings to the credit bureau. So that is much about your credit report. Let's look at what are the things that may likely affect your credit report. As you already know, bad credit report has a lot of implications on your financial life. I mean, it's only in Nigeria that it may not be that huge. In other part of the world, credit reports are their lives. I mean, you can't even go to outlets to shop if you have bad credit history, you know, because you run your life on credit cards most part of the world. In Nigeria, we still do cash. That's why it may not be that effective. But if you are a borrower in a bank or you're thinking of borrowing in the future, and you are thinking of, a very sound financial life in future, you should look at your credit report and make sure your credit report is tidy. So, what are the things that may affect your credit history? First, we would like to look at one, do not borrow except you have ability to pay. Don't jump on the bandwagon like we used to say in local palace. Don't, because others are borrowing, you want to borrow. Look at your ability to pay first. If you don't have need to borrow, don't borrow because that may affect your ability to pay. Like I always tell people, as somebody that have background in economics, I always tell people that you borrow money to fulfill needs, not to fulfill wants. If you fulfill need, you will have the eager, the intention. You have also have the ability to pay back. But if you borrow to fulfill wants, I mean, wants are numerous, like we used to say in economic palace. But your need is what is important, what you need to survive with. So if you borrow to fulfill needs, the eagerness, the willingness to pay back will be there. So, like I said, don't borrow because others are borrowing. Borrow because you have the need to fulfill. you know. And again, another important part of stuff that may affect your credit history is if you not borrow, you should keep repayment date in mind. What do I mean? A lot of things wrapped around this. You should think of your cash flow before you settle for repayment date. If you are borrowing in a bank and the bank is saying, your repayment date is on the 15th of every month, and you won't have enough money. I mean, you are a salary earner. Your salary is paid at the end of the month, 30th of the month, or 25th of the month, as the case may be. Don't settle for a repayment date that is 15th. That is a panacea for default already. You already have, something that will make you default on the loan. Defaulting on a loan will affect your credit history because what lenders look at in credit history is more than just paying. It's how well you have paid. You know, have you met up with your repayment date? Have you met up with your obligations, repayment obligations on a monthly basis? If your loan is to be paid every month, have you met up with payments as scheduled in your repayment schedule? So keep the date in mind. Don't let the bank fix your repayment date to a date where it's not aligning with your cash flow. You must have a cash flow every month. How much do you have at this particular point in time? How much do you have, at the end of the month? What do you have on the 15th? If the bank has put your repayment date on a day that you don't have enough money to pay, please ask the bank to change it to a day that you have enough cash flow to repay the loan, especially for salary earners. Another important part is that after we look at that your loan should align with your cash flow. Your loan repayment date should align with your cash flow. One thing we should also think of when signing up a loan obligation is your debt to service ratio. And what is debt to service ratio? For every borrower, you must think of how much you earn in a month. If, for instance, what you earn in a month is like 300,000, let's use that as an example. And your other obligations every month, your feeding, your transport, your clothing, your all other things that you do, fuel for your car, feeding for the children, transport for the children to school. will cost you every month above 100,000. Don't go and sign up a loan that you need to pay, 200,000 every month. That is also another panacea for default, which will also affect your credit report. What do I mean by that? You know, tolerable credit debt to service ratio, as allowed by regulator, is 33%. 33% of your income, because it is assumed that that's 33% is also one third of your income. Because it's assumed that you'll have other obligations to fulfill in the month apart from paying the loans. So two-thirds of your salary should be enough to fulfill other obligations. Don't go and sign up a loan that will take more than one third of your income every month. Income as a business earner, income as a salary earner. Don't sign up a loan that's more than one third of your income, which will give room. If it's between one third of your income, it will give room for all other expenses to be fulfilled peacefully. But if you've choked yourself with your repayment on the loan, and there are other pressing needs that are asking for your attention every month, that will give you, that's already signing, a default for the loan, which is not desirable, which you will not want to do because of your credit report, credit history. Another very important thing you must also do as a lender, as a borrower in a bank, is that if you realize that there's going to be a default in every month for any month, or any period of repayment, inform your bank beforehand. For instance, you have, for one reason or the other, you are not going to earn as much as you used to earn on this month, maybe August, for instance, and you have signed up a loan for instance 25th of the month, and 25th of the month you won't be able to, mop up enough money to pay off the loan. Inform your bank beforehand. Let the bank know. Banks are under obligation to restructure your loan, to change the payment date for you if you have reported. If you have not reported and allow that day to pass and you did not fulfill your obligation that month, don't just bear in mind that your credit report has already been affected, which may affect, your financial life in future. Other banks may not be willing to lend to you. One, you know, the incident of somebody that went to the embassy that wants a visa that was denied the visa because it's owing a bank may also, you don't know where it's going to come from. So that's why you must think of, knitting up your loan obligations, making sure you pay your loan obligation as at when due. Very critical. You won't go wrong if you do that. Inform your bank if you know that, this month you'll not be able to pay. Reasons why you'll not be able to fulfill obligation. Tell your bank. Let them know that this month, for one reason or the other, please reschedule my loan, change my repayment date for one reason or the other, I won't be able to pay. Well, some banks may penalize you. There may be penalty with some banks. Some bank may tell you, no, 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 we have signed up for this. We're going to penalize you for this. But then it's better to get penalized now and pay the penalty than to have a ruined bad credit report that may affect your financial life in future. One very important part is that, of these things that may affect your credit history, is for you to ensure that all accounts that you have in the bank that they're not going to use, is closed. Because whether you like it or not, banks do report little amount, very small amount, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000. That is not your fault. It's not deliberately your fault. But because you have abandoned the account for a long time, and debits, in Nigerian bank, debits keep piling up on the account, and that's going to an extent, the bank will report to the credit bureau and tell them this guy is owing us. And that will show your credit report anywhere it's printed. Anywhere in the world that they call for your credit report and it's printed, that will show that you're owing so bank. It may affect you at a very critical time in your life that you need something very important, like the guy that I gave example of that went to the embassy that could not secure a visa because he's owing a bank. God knows how much, what brought about owing the bank. May not be a loan, maybe an account that he has abandoned for a long time that he has not, looked at, that has given him the bad credit report. So please, any account that you're not going to use, that you're not using for a long time, please close them. Close them so that they don't accumulate, unnecessary debits in your favor. Debits in your favor that may affect your financial life, affect your credit report. Well, that is a few of the points that we have, you know. Like they always say in the credit palace, that is the credit analyst will tell you that any borrower, any potential borrower that has a bad credit report is a lot better than any potential borrower that does not have a credit report. What does that mean? A bad credit report shows the lender that you have a credit history, can give the lender, opportunity to judge you, that can give the credit analyst the opportunity to say, okay, this guy has borrowed for this is pattern of repayment. We can structure it and make sure we align with this pattern. If somebody has defaulted for 1 month, 2 months, for one reason or the other, the credit analyst can sit with and say, this is what we have seen. What caused it? Let's discuss it. If you're able to come up with, very good explanation on what caused such a delay, what caused such a bad credit report or favorable credit report, the lender may be able to avail you. Credit analyst may be able to recommend you for approval. But a potential borrower that has never had history of borrowing in any bank is a lot more dangerous than someone that has history of bad loans in any bank, because there's nothing to judge him with. We don't know the kind of person he is. We don't know, how he will pay on the loan. So do not shy away from getting facilities in banks. Do not shy away from, because that will also help. If you have gotten a facility with the bank and you are paid very well, dutifully, clean, neat, several facilities over, you have not defaulted in any way. The analyst, the potential borrower, the potential lender, the credit analyst will have a record to judge you with. And someone that has not borrowed, he doesn't have credit history, doesn't have any borrowing history in any bank, a dangerous borrower. We'd like to conclude by quickly running down the summary of how not to ruin your credit report. One, we have told you credit report is a summary of your history of your borrowing with the bank. Two, we told you to keep a repayment date in mind. Do not allow your repayment date not to align your cash flow. Do not allow the bank to fix a repayment date for you that is not in line with your cash flow. Three, inform your bank if you are going to have default, you have reason for default on your loan. Let your bank know that this month, for one reason or the other, you are not able to pay. Let the bank restructure your loan and make sure you pay as at when due. Debt. We have also talked about debt service ratio. Do not allow your loan repayment to be too huge for you, so that you're not in such a way that you'll not be able to fulfill all other financial obligations you have in the month. Make sure it's not more than on to be on the safe side, not 1/3 of your income, so that at least you have ability to pay around whatever that is left of your salary, of your income in a month. Do not borrow to fulfill need, borrow to fulfill wants. Don't jump on the bandwagon. Borrow only if you have a need for it. Don't borrow because others are borrowing. Don't jump on the bandwagon. Ensure the loan accounts are closed. All loan accounts are closed. If you have finished paying the loan, write a formal letter to the bank, tell them to close the loan account, and keep a copy of the acknowledgement. It's very important. Keep a copy of the acknowledgement, very, very important, so that in future, if the bank refuses to do what they should do, they are finished paying, and the bank has discharged you of all obligations, and any amount accrued onto that account, you are not liable. You can go and defend yourself. But if you don't formally ask them to close, some account officer may be negligent. They may not close the loan account, and loan account can also continue to accumulate, debits that will hurt you in future. Close all bank accounts that are not in use. Very critical, very important. Do not forget that. If you have a bank account that has been there for years and you're not in use, formally go to the bank and request that it should be closed, so that you don't get surprised when you need get surprised in your finances when you need to move ahead in your life in future. because of an account that you have neglected in a long time. Thank you so much for being there. Hope we've been able to increase your banking wisdom with this piece. You know, please like, share, comment. Let's have your feedback on this. God bless Nigeria. Thank you.